How does a young man once hailed as the next Magic Johnson disappear from the spotlight so quickly? In the mid-90s, Anthony Penny Hardaway wasn't just a basketball player, he was a phenomenon. Smooth, elegant, effortless. A 6'7" point guard who could see the court like no one since Magic himself. Fans believed he was destined to lead the next great dynasty in Orlando, alongside a young giant named Shaquille O'Neal. The future seemed limitless. But just as fast as he rose, everything began to crumble. Shaq left for Los Angeles, leaving Penny to carry the weight of a franchise. Then came the knee injuries, the kind that don't just slow you down, they change who you are. Surgeries piled up, the press turned cold, and the once bright smile of Orlando's golden boy began to fade. By the time the world realized what it had lost, the magic was already gone. Yet, this isn't just a story about injuries or bad luck. It's a story about what could have been, about a man whose talent burned too brightly, too soon. The kind of player who reminded fans why they fell in love with the game, and why heartbreak is part of it too. From the cracked courts of Memphis to the roaring lights of Orlando, from all-star cheers to lonely recoveries behind closed doors, Penny Hardaway's story is one of promise, pain, and perseverance. His rise was spectacular. His fall, unforgettable. But his spirit, that quiet, relentless belief, never left him. This is the story of a superstar who never got his chance, but never stopped believing in his own magic. Before the bright lights of Orlando, there was Memphis, a city of soul, struggle, and survival. That's where Anthony Hardaway, known simply as Penny, first learned to dream. Raised by his grandmother while his mother worked long hours, he spent his childhood dribbling on cracked sidewalks, imagining himself in the NBA long before anyone else believed he could get there. The game wasn't just fun, it was freedom. It was his escape from a neighborhood that offered more danger than opportunity. At Treadwell High School, the quiet boy from Memphis turned heads with his vision and control. He wasn't loud, he wasn't flashy, but when he played, everything stopped. Coaches, scouts, even rivals saw something rare: a guard with the height of a forward, the mind of a quarterback, and the instincts of a magician. The city began to whisper his name as if it were prophecy. Then came Memphis State University, where he quickly became the face of a new era. His sophomore season was electric: triple-doubles, clutch performances, and leadership that couldn't be taught. But few know that his journey nearly ended before it began. In 1991, during a visit to his grandmother's house, Penny was caught in crossfire and shot in the foot. Doctors warned that he might never play again. For weeks, he could only sit and listen to the sound of basketballs echoing outside. But he healed. And when he returned, he played like a man who understood how fragile dreams could be. By the time the 1993 NBA draft arrived, Golden State selected him third overall, then immediately traded him to Orlando. It wasn't just a business move, it was destiny calling. The kid from Memphis was about to find his magic. When Penny Hardaway stepped onto the court in Orlando, something special happened. The Magic already had a young powerhouse in Shaquille O'Neal, but when Penny arrived, the team transformed from exciting to unstoppable. Together, they brought flair, creativity, and joy back to the NBA. The chemistry was instant: alley-oops that seemed telepathic, passes that defied logic, and smiles that made fans believe they were witnessing the future of basketball. The 1994 and 95 seasons became a celebration of youth and style. Orlando's arena pulsed with energy as Shaq and Penny led the team past giants Hakeem Olajuwon, Reggie Miller, even Michael Jordan's Bulls. Penny wasn't just another point guard, he was a revelation. His crossovers were poetry, his passes invisible until they landed in the perfect hands. Commentators called him Magic Reborn, a title that once felt impossible for anyone to wear. Off the court, his fame exploded. The Nike Lil Penny commercials, voiced by comedian Chris Rock, made him a pop culture star. Kids across America wore number 1 jerseys and dreamed of playing like him. He wasn't just leading a team, he was leading a generation. Yet even in glory, the signs of fragility began to show. The physical demands of carrying a contender, the whispers about Shaq's eventual move to Los Angeles, and the pressure of being the face of the franchise started to weigh on him. Still, in those years, Penny stood tall, calm, confident, and graceful under every spotlight. He had conquered the league's biggest names, turned Orlando into a basketball paradise, and seemed destined for greatness. But the magic that lifted him so high was fragile, and soon, the cracks beneath that bright surface would begin to show. How does magic fade when you still believe in it? For Penny Hardaway, the fall began not with failure, but with pain. In 1997, a severe knee injury changed everything. The quickness that once dazzled fans now came with hesitation. Every jump, every pivot carried a shadow of doubt. The young man who once moved like silk now battled his own body, a cruel twist for a player whose gift was grace. Shaquille O'Neal's departure to Los Angeles left Penny as the lone superstar in Orlando. What was once a joyful partnership turned into isolation. The weight of expectation crushed him. Reporters questioned his leadership, fans grew restless, and the locker room grew colder. Penny tried to silence the noise with performance, even pushing through pain to appear in the All-Star game, but the fire in his legs couldn't match the fire in his heart. Surgeries followed one after another. Rehab rooms replaced arenas. Nights once filled with cheers turned into quiet hours staring at the ceiling, wondering if the comeback would ever happen. Yet, through it all, he never complained. His determination became his refuge. Those who knew him said he carried himself with the same quiet dignity that made him special in the first place. Still, the NBA is unforgiving. Young stars rise fast, and the game moves on even faster. As Orlando's success faded, so did the world's memory of the man who had once seemed unstoppable. But deep inside, Penny never gave up on the belief that his story wasn't over, that somewhere beneath the surgeries, the criticism, and the pain, there was still a spark of magic waiting to return. By the early 2000s, Penny Hardaway was no longer the same player who once ruled the court with grace and control. Yet, he refused to walk away. He wanted one last chance, not for the fame, but for the love of the game. When he joined the Phoenix Suns, there was hope that a fresh start could revive his career. For brief moments, it did. Surrounded by veterans and young talents, Penny flashed pieces of his old brilliance, a no-look pass here, a smooth jumper there. But his knees told a different story. Every movement required courage, every game demanded sacrifice. What few fans knew was how much pain he endured just to step on the floor. He quietly took painkillers, underwent draining treatments, and taped himself tight before every practice. To most, he looked composed. Inside, he was fighting to prove that the magic hadn't completely vanished. But even the strongest spirit can't outrun time. The injuries came back, sharper and less forgiving. He moved to New York, hoping for one final spark, one more run under the bright lights of Madison Square Garden. But the minutes were limited, and the spotlight had shifted to a new generation. The end arrived quietly, no farewell tour, no emotional send-off, no standing ovation. Just another game on another night, and then, nothing. When Penny finally stepped off the court for the last time, he didn't cry, he didn't speak, he simply walked away. The man who once carried Orlando's dreams left the game the same way he entered it, humble, graceful, and silent. For fans who remembered his brilliance, it felt like a chapter closing too soon, a legend fading before it was ever fully written. When the cheers stopped and the arenas grew silent, Penny Hardaway returned to where it all began, Memphis. The same city that had raised him from cracked sidewalks and neighborhood courts now welcomed him home as a mentor, not a star. He didn't come back for fame or nostalgia. He came back to rebuild, to teach, to give the next generation what he once almost lost belief. As a high school coach, he turned a struggling program into a powerhouse, guiding young players not only toward championships but toward discipline and purpose. His calm presence and quiet wisdom inspired kids who had never seen him play but could feel his passion. Eventually, he took over as head coach of the University of Memphis, the same school where his own legend began. Under his leadership, the city's basketball heartbeat found its rhythm again. Penny never spoke bitterly about what he'd lost. Instead, he talked about gratitude for the game, for the lessons, and for the second chance to give back. To many, he became proof that greatness doesn't always live in highlight reels or trophies. Sometimes, it lives in how you rise after falling. Today, when fans speak his name, they do so with warmth. They remember the no-look passes, the effortless glide, and the smile that once defined an era. But they also remember the resilience, the way he turned heartbreak into purpose. Penny Hardaway may not have fulfilled every dream the world had for him, but in the end, he created something even more lasting, a legacy of quiet strength, compassion, and hope. The boy from Memphis never stopped believing in magic, he simply learned to pass it on. Penny Hardaway's story is not just about basketball, it's about what happens when fate interrupts greatness. He was a player built for the spotlight, a symbol of the NBA's new era in the mid-90s. For a brief, brilliant moment, he stood toe-to-toe with legends and made fans believe in magic again. But life rarely follows the script we imagine. The injuries, the departures, the silence, they all conspired to turn a story of dominance into one of reflection. Yet time has a way of revealing the deeper truth. Penny's career didn't end in bitterness, it evolved into something more meaningful. The same poise and grace that made him mesmerizing on the court became the foundation of his second act, shaping young lives, restoring pride to Memphis, and proving that the measure of a man isn't found in trophies, but in endurance. When people ask what the hell happened to Penny Hardaway, the answer isn't tragedy, it's transformation. He didn't disappear. He simply changed his purpose. From a rising superstar to a guiding mentor, from a fallen hero to a builder of dreams, Penny became the embodiment of perseverance. Maybe he never got his full chance under the brightest lights, but he gave the world something else, a reminder that even when the magic fades, the heart behind it can still shine. If you still remember Penny's brilliance, share your favorite memories below and subscribe for more untold NBA stories that deserve to be remembered.